How does a stranger know your name? That was the only thing my brain could process for the first 8 seconds after the woman in the seat next to me grabbed my forearm at 32,000 feet, leaned close, and said in a voice low enough that nobody else on the plane could hear, "Bryony Larkspur, when we land in 24 minutes, do not go through Gate 4. Do not look at the man waiting at Gate 4. Do not let him see your face. Walk past him to baggage claim. Take the second taxi in the line, not the first. Do not use your phone for the next 6 hours. Tell me you understand me before I say anything else." I did not understand her. I had never seen her in my life. I had been on a flight from a small Wisconsin city to Kansas City for a continuing education conference. I had been working the puzzle in the airline magazine. I had been thinking, very specifically, about whether to order coffee or sparkling water from the cart that was about to come down the aisle. I had been a person whose biggest decision in the next 45 minutes was a beverage. The woman did not let go of my arm. She was maybe 50. She had short silver hair and reading glasses on a chain, and a cardigan that I had registered, in the way you register details about strangers on planes, as the cardigan of a person who was not going to ask me where I was traveling to. She had been reading a hardcover novel for the entire flight. She had not said a single word to me until 38 seconds ago. She said again, "Bryony, please, I need you to tell me you understand." I said, "How do you know my name?" She closed her eyes for a half second. She opened them. She said, "I have known your name for 14 months. I have been the person in charge of making sure your name does not appear in the same place as another name for 14 months. The man at Gate 4, when we land, is the other name. He is also a federal witness. He has been waiting for you, by accident, at the gate where his connecting flight is leaving from, because the airline rebooked him there 40 minutes ago, after a mechanical issue with his original gate. I did not have time to redirect either of you. I am the witness coordinator on your case. My name is Marjorie Halverson. I have your file. I am the reason you have not received any phone calls in the last 14 months that you should not have received. I am asking you to trust me for the next 50 minutes, and I will tell you everything you need to know. But first, you have to walk past Gate 4 without making eye contact, and you have to do it in 7 minutes, because that is when this plane is going to be taxiing to our gate, and that is when his plane is going to start boarding. Do you understand me? Hit subscribe, drop your city in the comments. Stay until the end. There is a category of person whose entire job is to make sure other people's lives stay intact in ways nobody is ever supposed to see. And the only reason I am here, in front of this camera, is that one of those people grabbed my arm on a plane 14 months into a job she was not supposed to ever speak to me about. I have never been able to thank her properly. I am going to try, in this video, the only way I have figured out how. I said yes. I said yes because the woman holding my arm had said my name. I said yes because she had said the words federal witness. I said yes because 14 months earlier, I had walked into a federal building in St. Louis, and I had given a sworn statement against a man I had spent 6 months gathering evidence about. And I had been told, that day, that my testimony in his eventual trial was going to be the central pillar of a federal prosecution. I had been told that my safety would be managed. I had been told that I would be contacted only when necessary, and that if anything strange happened to me in the months leading up to the trial, I should call a single number and that the number would handle it. I had been given the number. I had carried it in my wallet for 14 months. I had not had to use it. Nothing strange had happened. I had thought more than once that my safety was being managed by a system that was either very good or completely uninvolved. I had not known which until 38 seconds earlier. My name is Bryony Larkspur. I am 37 years old. I work as a pediatric occupational therapist at a clinic that serves children with sensory processing disorders in a small city in southern Wisconsin. I had been at the clinic for 8 years. The case I had given evidence in, 14 months earlier, had begun when one of my regular patients, a 6-year-old boy named Henrik, had told me, in the middle of a session, something that had not made sense, and that I had been trained to recognize as the kind of thing that did not make sense. I had reported it. The reporting had been the first thread in what had eventually become a federal trafficking investigation involving 23 children, 6 adults, and a network of people that operated across 4 states. I had not been the only person in that case. I had been one of the people in that case. The trial had been scheduled for 9 times in 14 months and had been postponed 9 times. The trial was now scheduled to begin in 19 days. The man at Gate 4, Marjorie told me, in the next 60 seconds while the plane began its descent, was a different witness in the same case. His testimony and mine, together, were the spine of the prosecution. The defense, she told me, had been trying for months to invalidate either of our testimonies on technical grounds. One of the technical grounds the defense had been preparing was a motion that would argue that the witnesses had been improperly coordinated by the federal task force. If anyone, ever, could produce evidence that the 2 of us had met before the trial, even by accident, even at an airport gate, even for 30 seconds, the motion would be granted. Both testimonies would be ruled inadmissible. The trial would collapse. The man on trial, who had spent 9 years moving children across state lines for sale to other adults, would walk out of the federal courthouse a free man. The other 6 adults charged with him would walk out behind him. The 23 children who had been recovered, the children who had been promised that the people who had hurt them would not be able to hurt anybody else, would not have that promise kept. Marjorie said, "You and the other witness have been tracked, separately and continuously, for 14 months by a small team that I run. The 2 of you have been on the same continent only twice in those 14 months, and the second time was today, by accident, because of a mechanical issue with his original flight. We are at the absolute edge of containment. If a single airport security camera catches the 2 of you in the same frame, even passing each other, the defense will subpoena that footage. They will get it. They have been doing this for 9 years. They are good at it. So I am asking you, very specifically, to walk past Gate 4 without slowing down, without turning your head, without doing anything that would give a camera a reason to track you. If you can do that, the prosecution has a chance. If you cannot, 23 families lose what was supposed to be their answer." She let go of my arm. She sat back in her seat. She picked up her novel. She did not look at me again until the flight attendant came by to collect cups. The plane landed. We taxied. We pulled up to our gate. The gate was Gate 7. Gate 4 was 4 gates down the concourse on the same side. Marjorie did not get up when we deplaned. She let me go ahead. I walked off the plane alone. I walked up the jet bridge. I came out into the concourse. I did exactly what she had told me to do. I did not look at Gate 4. I did not look at any of the people in the chairs near Gate 4. I looked instead at the floor about 6 feet ahead of me. I walked at a normal pace. I went past Gate 5. I went past Gate 4. I did not register with any part of my conscious mind what the man waiting at Gate 4 looked like, what he was wearing, or whether he had glanced up as I went past. I have, since that day, deliberately not asked. I do not want to know. The man's testimony and mine were both delivered, separately, in the federal courthouse in St. Louis on different days, 3 weeks later. I did not see him at the trial. I did not see him at any of the proceedings. I have never, to this day, met him. I do not know his name. I do not know what he looks like. I do not know what testimony he gave. The things he saw and the things I saw were, by the prosecutor's later description, complementary halves of a case that needed both of us to stand up. We have never been in the same room. We will probably never be in the same room. Marjorie's job for 14 months had been to make sure that did not happen by accident. On the plane, I had ruined her job by accident. She had walked through the only door available to her, which was to grab my arm and tell me to fix it. I want to break in here. I am going to tell you what happened next, because it is the part of this story I have been carrying. The day after the flight, I received a brief email from an address I had never seen, with no signature. The email said, "You did exactly what was asked. Thank you. Please continue to use the contact number I gave you for any further communications. We do not need to discuss what happened on the flight, then or ever." The email had not been signed. I had assumed it was from Marjorie. I had assumed correctly. I did not respond. The trial happened 19 days later. The trial took 6 weeks. The man at the center of it was convicted on 28 counts. He took a sentence that means he will not be released in his lifetime. The other 6 adults charged with him took plea deals over the following 4 months. All of them are in federal facilities. The 23 children whose names were on the case file have been returned to their families. A nonprofit organization that does long-term recovery support for child trafficking survivors took on their cases. I have been told, through the prosecutor's office, that 19 of the 23 are stable. 2 are in residential treatment. 2 we are not allowed to know about. None of them are dead. After the trial closed, I tried to find Marjorie. I did not know how to. The contact number she had given me 14 months earlier still worked. I called it once. The person who answered was a man I had never spoken to, who told me, very politely, that Marjorie Halverson was no longer the coordinator on my case, that my case was closed, that I should keep his number in case anything came up in the future, but that there was no longer any active coordination on my behalf. He did not tell me where Marjorie had gone. I asked. He did not answer. I sent the email address that had thanked me a brief message 3 months later, asking if there was any way I could properly thank Marjorie for what she had done. The email bounced. The address had been deactivated. I have spent the last 2 years trying to figure out how to thank a person who was never supposed to have spoken to me, who broke a rule on a plane to keep a trial from collapsing, who handed me back to the system the moment we landed, who has been deliberately invisible to me for the entirety of the time I have known her name. I have not figured out how. The closest I have come is this video. There is a category of person in this country whose work I had never thought about before that flight, and who I have not been able to stop thinking about since. The category is the procedural worker. The person whose entire job is to manage the small, invisible logistics that keep large institutional outcomes possible. The person who makes sure the witness gets to the courtroom intact. The person who makes sure the chain of custody on a piece of evidence does not get broken. The person who routes the case files to the right desk on the right day. The person who reads the small detail in the 11th paragraph of the 3rd document and notices that 2 flight numbers are about to put 2 people in the same airport at the same time, and who runs across an airport, and who buys a last-minute seat next to one of them, and who breaks her own rule to keep the rule that matters from being broken. Those people are everywhere. They are in courthouses. They are in hospitals. They are in adoption agencies. They are in school district offices. They are in the small bureaucratic rooms where the actual work of keeping an institution honest gets done. They are not the lawyers. They are not the doctors. They are not the judges. They are not the people whose names appear in news articles. They are the coordinators. They are the case managers. They are the records officers. They are the people who carry the file from one office to another, who make sure the form gets to the right desk, who notice the typo, who flag the inconsistency, who hold a system together with attention and patience and small, precise acts of judgment that almost nobody else will ever see. They make somewhere between $40,000 and $70,000 a year, mostly. They have bachelor's degrees, usually, and master's degrees sometimes. They are mostly women. They are mostly invisible. The rest of us, the lawyers and the doctors and the people whose testimony gets quoted in the press releases, get the credit for the outcomes. The procedural workers got us to the outcomes. We have not been thanking them. We have not been seeing them. We have not, mostly, been aware they exist. I am asking you to do one specific thing the next time you interact with a large institution. You are going to talk to a lot of people in any given institutional encounter. You are going to talk to the doctor or the lawyer or the judge or the case agent. You are also, if you are paying attention, going to talk to other people. The person at the front desk who pulled your file. The intake coordinator who called you the week before. The records clerk who emailed you the document at 3 in the afternoon when you needed it by 5. The case manager who scheduled the appointment. Find them. Pay attention to their names. Thank them by name. The cost of a sentence saying, "I appreciate what you did to get this on my schedule," is nothing. The cost of an email after the fact that says, "I noticed you handled this well," is nothing. The benefit, for the person on the receiving end, who has spent her career being thanked by exactly nobody, is much larger than you think. Marjorie Halverson saved a federal trafficking case from collapse on a Tuesday afternoon by grabbing the arm of a stranger on an airplane. The thank you that has reached her, that I am aware of, is one bounced email and a video she will never see. That is not enough. The fact that it is the most I have figured out how to give her tells you something about how this country values the work she does. We are going to have to do better. We can start, in our own lives, by thanking the procedural workers we can see. The ones we cannot see, like Marjorie, are doing the work anyway. They will keep doing it. The least we can do is build, in our small institutional encounters, a culture of noticing, so that the procedural workers in our reach understand that somebody, eventually, is going to look up from the form and see them. They are the reason most of the systems we depend on still work. Most of us have never thanked one of them. The next time you have the chance, take it. Use a name. Mean it. Marjorie, if you ever see this, the man at Gate 4 and I never met. We never will. The trial held. The children went home. I did exactly what you asked. The thing I am asking in return is that you let other people thank you, in the ways you can let them, even when you cannot let me. You have spent 11 years being invisible on purpose. The work that you have done is visible to the people who care to look. Some of us are looking now. Some of us are going to keep looking. Whatever rule you broke on that plane, you broke it for a reason that is now in a courtroom record in St. Louis, in a trial that closed, in 23 children who are home. The rule is fine. The rule will mend. The world that you held together with one arm on an airplane, that is fine too. That is more than fine. That is the rest of all of our lives, because you did your job in the only way it could be done that day. Thank you. Belatedly. From a stranger you sat next to once, to a stranger you handed back to her own life, intact.